What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're interacting to the 8th episode of Full Dive. This one's titled Enlistment and Baptism. Okay, so we are making progress in the game, technically, although it looks like the progress we're making is leading us to an increasingly difficult route, which is, to be fair, none of the routes are particularly easy, so it doesn't really matter that this is the worst one, because they're all kind of bad in their own right. But at least through this one, we could potentially learn something if we can keep up with it. So we have joined the city guard as a mercenary under the offer of Tesla after saving a little girl who was being harassed by the goblin attack that had been going on. We had actually managed to unlock something special, at least, in the form of our running. It seems as though we had a skill activate, an ability, or something activate, that allowed us to have supreme speed, which tracks because we are a runner. It makes sense that the thing you're good at in real life could translate into the skill for the game. We've already mentioned that the VR MMO uses the uses your real life attributes, so it feels like you. So you're not suddenly super strong, you're not suddenly super quick if you're not like that in the real world. So it makes sense that his skill would be on his running, because that's the one thing he was very adept at until his incident, we'll call it. Very unfortunate incident. And obviously the little girl reminded him of his sister, which just gave him more reason to do it. And, like, yeah, trope, we get it. But yeah, we learned about the dying destroying our console, which, again, I don't know how they can legally still have that on the shelves, but Riona somehow still had... Whatever. I don't know what Riona's about at this point. I really don't. She very much seems like the fan service, like, degrading character that's just meant to degrade on the MC for a while and then be like, oh, but I'm doing this because I really support you. It's like, sure. I don't know if I like the characters so far. Like, it's hard to say. Like, none of the characters are that likable, in a way. And I think the main reason I'm still watching this, and we'll see how this episode goes as well, but the main reason I'm still watching is because it has its moments where I genuinely am amused by it, and really now I'm a bit too far in to start considering dropping. Like, I'm too invested. I kind of want to see how it gets to the end, at least. I don't think there's much... Like, this is a very, very new series. Like, the light novel started August 2020. So, it got a adaptation very, very quickly. Like, very, very quickly. Like, normally you don't get series with this quick a turnaround. August to April, it's already got a series. Like, that's honestly insane. So, the likelihood of a second season, not very, since they've kind of got to make all the content for the first season, for the next season anyway, because there's just not enough. I don't think you can get 2 seasons out of 3 episodes of light novel. I think that would be kind of detrimental to it as well. So hopefully, if there is going to be a second season, they at least take their time to get more content out, and not go like anime original and then have the light novels back that up. I don't think that'll work too well. But yeah, our chance of survival down this route is apparently 0.1%. I'm going to guess that's because of the... well, we're going through guard training, and therefore mercenary training and such like that, so... We, as a 17-year-old normal high schooler, except that we can run a bit fast, are now expected to go through full-on military training. Like, if you could just imagine, if, let's say you're a 17-year-old kid, just imagine yourself when you're 17, and you're suddenly asked to do full-on military training for your country. Do you think you could necessarily keep up that easily? Like, do you honestly think you could do so? Knowing that you weren't... Like, here's the thing. You don't have to do that military training. There is nothing really except your own thinking that says you need to even do this in the first place. There's no monetary incentive, there's no legal incentive, there's no downside to not doing it except you feel like you need to improve yourself as a person. Which is a big driving factor, let's not get it wrong. Like, a lot of what we do is driven by our own perception of ourselves, and that's what Hero's kind of doing here. He's continuing to play this game, at least from what I gathered from the was it episode 5, I think? Or was it episode 4? think it was episode 4. Yeah, it was episode 4 where he got his like big motivation, which he needed. He's doing it so that he can stop running away from all his problems. He's like equating running away from the game to the same as running away from his running and the embarrassment that he made of him, and how his sister's critiquing him for his like, come on, why are you just quitting because things get difficult? And he's being bullied as well, so it's like he's compounding all that into thinking, if I can at least stand up to it in this game, maybe that will translate to the real world, instead of just translating that desire and putting it into the real world in the first place, to stop the bullying, to maybe talk to his sister, to maybe actually get back into running. Like, he's focusing on the game more than the rest of it. Maybe because the game is an escapism and he doesn't actually feel like there's any well, there is consequence if he messes up. There's more of a consequence if he messes up and that, really. But whatever. I'm not going to dig too deep. This show's not really that deep into its character motivations, really. Or character building overall, I should say. It gives enough that you can kind of just forget it and then just move on with whatever craziness it decides to throw at it. But yeah, do you honestly think, like, even take yourself now, because remember, this is just a video game that anyone can pick up and play. Do you think, honestly, sitting here now, if you were told you now need to go military training, do you honestly think you could keep up? I don't think I could. Like, I really don't think I could. I wouldn't be able to keep up early on, and I would need the motivation to do so, and in this instance, there's nowhere near enough motivation. If it's like actual like conscription, you are expected to serve military time, which isn't a thing here in the UK. I know some countries that's still like expected, like once you turn like 18 or something, you're expected to do like a certain amount of military service. I forget where that's mandatory. I don't know of any countries where it's mandatory. I know there's a bunch of countries where it's like, oh, that's a good thing to go do if you don't really have a plan out of school immediately. Like, if you're not going to university or if you're not going straight into work, you can go to the military and gain military skills and such like that. If you're from a country that does that sort of thing, or if you've done like a military training or a, I guess, service under the military, please let me know. I'm kind of curious about how that is and how you perceived it going in versus coming out of it. So just kind of curious about that now, thinking about it. But even then, this training is going to be so much different than what you're expected to in the military. Yes, you've got lots of heavy gear in the military. You'd have a lot of gun training as well, more than likely. But in this, it's like full-on metal armor, probably. He might be wearing levers, considering the OP. It's going to be sword play, which is not something that anyone really trains nowadays, unless you're an enthusiast or it's part of a martial arts, maybe. Maybe you like take up fencing or something, but like to use proper like medieval style weaponry, not many people train that. And like if it's training to use a bow as well, like trying to pull like a full English war bow, they go up to like 160 or even higher draw weight. Those things are monsters. Like modern bows, you would never get up to 160 draw weight on a bow. Like a 150-pound crossbow is a pretty hefty crossbow. So, you know. Yeah, I don't think many people would easily adapt to this style of military training, which I think is probably where the survival chance is going to be low, because you don't get enough out of the training, you kind of feel like you're a failure, and then you're thrust into a combat role, and therefore you die in that combat role. That's where I think they're going with this. I don't know where the baptism comes into it. Maybe there is a religious aspect to it, or maybe it's just a baptism by fire, for example, in the training, but I guess we'll see. I spoke way too long about this show, really. It didn't deserve that much talking, but I kind of went off on one about the whole military training thing. Anyway, loading the episode up here. As per usual, these are tier-based formats here on YouTube. If you want to see the full picture in picture, go to my Patreon down in the description below. £4 a month gets you access to all picture in picture reactions I do on the channel, which is everything from the current seasonal lineup, as well as Patreon request shows such as Symphogear G, which we'll be doing a little later today. We also have movie reactions, with Kiki's Delivery Service just going up somewhat recently. And we have the first week of June, which will be the time to vote on what the next movie will be. We do have special movies such as Princess Principal Crown Handler, I think it was called, right? Something like that. That will be coming out not this Saturday, but the week after. I will be watching that one without going through a poll or anything, because I'm genuinely interested in that movie since I've watched the main series, and this is the first of 6 sequel movies, because they're like double anime episodes, and they're like packaging them just like what Girls and Panzer did, or is still doing, I should say. That's the problem with these. They take so long to get out that it just feels like you're constantly waiting for more. which stretches it out. But yeah, I'd rather just they did a second season, but maybe it's more monetary incentive to do it in the movie format. But yeah, here on YouTube we do time based. So bottom left of the screen you'll see a time for the episode. I count down 3, 2, 1, play. Play site episode, I site episode, and we should be in sync. We have watched this one on Funimation since they're the ones who licensed it. We have the Katakawa logo and then the Funimation logo to start, so that's 10 seconds of logos, give or take. I'll call them out as I go past, but you'll see a screen flash on my face, the mic, or this part of my headset to tell when the scenes are transitioning. So, with all that said, let's get into this week's episode, shall we? In 3, 2, 1, play. Katakawa? Funimation. Cheers. Here we go. Yes, that's how percentages work. I'm still sad that Martin time's over. That's actually a very interesting thing they introduced just to immediately solve it. Alright. Episode number 8. Enlistment and Baptism. Yes. Hmm. But what if I actually did? Oh shit. I mean, we's best friends forever. The trick to the entire game? Oh wow, incredible. I mean, that's 5 times better than what we had. 5 days of training. Second wave of assault, okay. I mean, this is going to be full military training, right? Sure. Even if you have to fake it, he says. Oh? The true mystery of Tez. How's he played every single variant in 10 years? How's he managed that? That he knows every single trick of the game. Basically. But you're the MC of a show. Of course you're not going to do that. Yeah. Weird conversation, but alright. I still have so many questions on how time and events work in this world, considering it's an MMORPG. Like, what if another player had something they wanted to do with our boy? It makes no sense. Good luck with that. Sleep at the grounds makes sense. So there's the training course. Queen Govern, I guess this is going to be the girl from the OP. Sounds more monstrous than torture, but whatever. Hello. Okay. What is... Sure. What is this? I think that's an MJ reference, right? Oh, like yeah. Oh, here we go. Canada and Palu, okay. Oh, they look totally trustworthy and nice people. I'm sure they're not going to be a problem for us to deal with during this chance of survival. Oh, they will. Okay. mean, cut off the head and the body will flare around useless, right? Why does this city have a queen? Seems a bit over the top. No, you don't get one-on-one training. Yep, let's get you settled in. Let's get you equipped as well. Oh, hi, Bob. Bob. Uh-huh. So all seems perfectly fine right now. There's our levers. I mean, yes. Makes sense. Sure. He does. Okay. Basic lever. The other mercs in basic levers as well. Okay. It's not. Yeah, they're building this up to be hell. Yeah, not much muscle mass built up. Here we go. Mm-hmm. Okay. Of course. Of course you are. True. uh. Oh, okay. Hmm. Just snap our hand when. Oh. Oh boy, here we go. You have no technique. You have no idea how to wield a sword properly, how to read an opponent or anything. Very easily telegraph attack, easy to dodge, and whack on the back of the head, or in the stomach. That works too. You're already dead, but mm-hmm. He actually blocked that, which is somewhat impressive, and disarmed immediately. Mm-hmm. Oof. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This is where we're meant to use our main attribute, speed, but we have no idea what we're doing yet. Yeah. Thank you. The realistic game, you muppet. At least you got one. His face is in the background. Yep, don't want to associate with a weakling like that. He'll never make it. I love how she just ghosts entirely, doesn't even say a word. As expected. Mm-hmm. Sure. It's gonna keep happening. Mm-hmm. And she's out. I'm so jealous of people that can just knock out like that. It's impossible for me. I feel like that would really mess up your sleep schedule. I get the feeling of. Mm-hmm. Still an instructor, treat him with respect. Mm-hmm. That's a good question. Yep. Hey, don't knock 80-year-olds. They can dance as well. I remember one performer on Britain's Got Talent. They were actually genuinely amazing. Oh boy. Not wrong. Yeah, as expected. We do have someone supporting us in the end, at least. Good. Mm-hmm. Day 3. Of course. The only thing we have is speed. If he works out, well, he'll be fine. That's not gonna be helpful here. No. Yeah. Yeah. Can you even get bragging rights from defeating Hero? Honestly, like... Oh, look, they're gonna be embodiments of the bullies. Yeah, they're just the bullies from real life. We're just drawing parallels to everything, huh? Like, come on. We've already made the sister parallel in this game. Now we've made the bully parallel. We've made the running parallel. It's a bit much sometimes. Oh, that's the episode? Wow, okay. I do wonder how this series got approved so quickly sometimes. Anyway, it was an okay app. I am watching just because I'm committed at this point. Alright, next time. A fairy's power. Okay. So is Riona going to be more directly involved now, I'm guessing? Give her a reason to be here in the end, I suppose. Yeah, I feel like this show overall, it very much has stagnated. Like, I don't know what I'm necessarily watching for. It has its dumb moments that are mildly entertaining. The characters are... I mean, they're there. The MC is not completely insufferable. The one thing I will say about this show, compared to male MCs, Hero is not the worst I've ever watched. Not exactly a hard hurdle to overcome, obviously, but he's bearable to an extent. He's MC dumb, as he kind of has to be, because if we have a smart MC, we don't really have any problems, although you can have plenty of problems even if you know what you're supposed to do, because general ability... Like, change Hero's personality a bit here, to the point where he's actually quite good at games. He knows how games work. Like, he clearly has expectations of what the games work. But if he started to just apply himself to know, okay, I'm not going to have any sword training. He knows it's a hyper-realistic game. There's no, like, tutorial in this at all. I need to know how to do sword fights. Okay, first day, log off, look up some sword tutorials, because there are plenty of stuff out on YouTube. You could learn how to handle a sword. Like, at least a short sword or a long sword, or some form of weapon. And think about, okay, I had that strange burst of speed. How can I replicate that? Can I replicate that? How can I use that in a sense? Because I think it's fairly obvious that he's never going to have the power to be a sufficient fighter. Like, in of itself. He's not going to be relying on his strength to do that. He's reliant on his agility and therefore speed, because that's what he specializes in, and he has as a benefit. So what he can do is he could learn to dodge, and use his speed to get past the enemy, get behind them, or get behind even the enemy lines in total if it's a larger scale fight, and start picking them off from behind whilst they're not expecting it. Use that element of surprise, rather than just all-out aggression to break their guard and attack them when we have no real experience whatsoever. And 5 days of experience, especially when a day in this world is not 24 hours, like, there's time acceleration and such, as far as I'm aware, right? I think there is. There should be, otherwise you'd never be able to do a different time event. You'd have to alter your real life to work with the game world, which is just not going to happen. Yeah, the setting is just weird anyway, with how, like, for an MMO, it seems oddly single player, which is by design, because they're like, oh, this game's so shit, no one plays it anymore. But we do have an active player in there, so what happens when we log off and that player was to go to want Tesla or talk to Tesla or have Tesla do a certain event? Would Tesla just still be standing there waiting for Hero to go back? Does he go back and then he just suddenly reappears where he... Like, how does that... I'm asking too much of the show. I'm asking the show to do too much at that point, but... Yeah, it is what it is. It's decent, but that's about all I really have to say. Yeah, it's just kind of sad that these types of shows get such approval so early on. Now, I'm fairly certain the writer of this is, like, someone notable, right? Like, Light Tsuchihi is, yeah, from Overly Cautious Hero, which in of itself was a decent show. People seem to like it. And from what I barely remember of the early episodes, because I watched a couple of early episodes, it was mildly entertaining. It was a very good performance by the main girl, Restart. The VA did a fantastic job to really showcase that character as a very likable and very unique character. But this one just seems so far off the mark of that so far. But visually, it's not the best. I mean, NG are doing a decent job. Like, NG makes some decent looking stuff. Like, Kimono Michi was actually pretty good. Uzaki was perfectly fine for what the type of show it was. This one's kind of mediocre. They do have another show coming up next season called The Detective is Already Dead, which I have seen mention of in news articles, which might be interesting if it is a mystery show, like a detective-ish show. I do have an interest in that straight away, because I love detective shows. I love that idea of learning along with the cast, and they also have Kankole Season 2 to handle at some point, so I don't really want to sound bad on NG, because they have done some good stuff, but this is not one of their finest works, it must be said. Yeah, just overall, I think the show has already run its course in my mind, but I want to at least see the conclusion of it. If that makes sense. I want to see if they do anything cool with the finale of it. And so I'm sticking around for the next what is it? Is it 4 episodes or is it 5? 4 episodes, okay. Yeah, I don't mind sticking around for another 4 episodes. I mean, it's not like today is a particularly busy day. We've got Super Cup after this and then Symphogear, so I'm not too... It's not going to kill me to keep the show up, so I'm just going to finish it up and see how it goes, but it very much has not... I don't want to compare it to Promised Neverland Season 2, because that was a whole nother level of messed up and just shit. But it has that same feeling of I'm watching just to complete it, rather than watching because I want to keep watching, if you get what I mean. Like, it's enjoyable enough that I want to complete it, is the best thing I can say about it. But next episode is probably going to need some of the side characters to come back, because Rayona as a side character alone is not going to sell it for me. We've got rid of Martin, which is annoying. Alicia is still the most interesting aspect of this show that I kind of want to explore more, but I guess we won't. Sister I don't care about right now. And then Mizurisa is still very interesting, but yeah, overall just it's a very, very average show. And I think my rating towards the end of the season will probably reflect that. But just thinking of shows like this, because I saw it on the analyst front page as trending anime or manga, so I'm guessing something recent was just posted about this. Like, I'm guessing another... are they called chapters in manhwa? What would you call them? Hang on, let me just look it up. But Solo Leveling, which is a series that I have heard very, 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 very... They're called volumes, okay. Yeah. But like, I've heard very, very good things about this for a long time. And I'm hoping something like this does get an adaptation. Now, considering most manhwa adaptations have been handled by Crunchyroll up until this point, we had Tower of God, we had God of High School, we had Noblesse. I think Noblesse was the best of those three, in all honesty. And it's a shame, because Noblesse is not the type of show that typically has a large appeal to a Western audience. God of High School and Tower of God were the two that had the biggest appeal, but I think they were the ones handled the least well, particularly God of High School. Tower of God was okay, and I'm interested to see where it goes, but it was very much felt like we just got through that so we could get to the next best bit about the show. But Solo Leveling I hear a lot of good things about, and I would love to see an adaptation of that. I really would. Apparently they have a game on the way, as well as a drama adaptation. Netmarble Core is making the game. Have they done anything I would know? They've done a bunch of games, including Marvel stuff and Dragon Ball Online. But none of the big, like... I don't recognize any of these titles as, like, big ones that managed to make it over to the Western world, at least. Like, they haven't done, like, a... They're not like a Yo-Star, for example, but... Apparently they had a big breakdown of Disney-based stuff as well. Interesting. Anyway, yeah, that is what it is. I'd just love to see a Solo Leveling adaptation one day, because I feel like that would be quite interesting. But anyway, off topic. Let's go do it for today, guys. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the ones per usual. I don't know how we managed to make a 45-minute episode out of this. That's kind of crazy. Don't forget to hit subscribe as well to see next week's episode, as well as the rest of the Spring 2021 lineup you can find here on the channel. Thank you for watching. Till next time. See you guys later.